Seriously, it is the year 2005. Would it kill Nintendo to give me a Game Boy Advance just like this, but with a screen I could see? That's not what I had in mind! Alright, look, I'm no stranger to dunking on the Game Boy Micro. I think this thing is a really cool piece of Nintendo history. I think it's a cool handheld, it's really sleek and premium, but at the end of the day, I've always called it a novelty. I never really understood why this thing came out, especially so late into the year 2005. Like, this was the last Game Boy release. This and the Game Boy Advance SP AGS 101, these were the last two. This was like the last Game Boy though. And it did sell fairly well. It sold like, what, like 2.5 million units? So like, it didn't do bad for a Game Boy, but like, it didn't really do great either. But at that time, we already had the Nintendo DS, and the DS Lite was gonna come out in 2006, so this really didn't make much sense, especially because, too, this only plays Game Boy Advance games, right? So you're locked just to Game Boy Advance games. But there's a lot of really great Game Boy Advance games. You don't have to play Game Boy Color or Game Boy Original, although there were a lot of really good Game Boy Color games too. But this is strictly locked to Game Boy Advance, and the screen is rather small. It has good brightness, but other than that, there's not a lot going for it. It does have a headphone jack. They did bring that back. Other than the Game Boy Advance SP, I still don't know why you had to use a stupid adapter. Like, there was room to have a headphone jack. If they put a headphone jack on this thing, then they could have put a headphone jack on the Game Boy Advance SP. But today what I want to do is stop rambling here and talk about my 30-day challenge with the Game Boy Micro. So I challenged myself 30 days. I want to play this thing and see, what do I think about it? Do I still think it's a novelty, or did I actually fall in love with this unit? Did I find out that I actually really like playing this thing? Well, I'll tell you that after a word from our sponsor.
I'm sure we've all been there, sitting in a cheap, uncomfortable chair, just like this guy. Yeah, I know you bought that because it was cheap. Don't you want something that's not awful? Then allow me to introduce you to something much, much better. Introducing Hoffree, the ultimate massage office chair designed to keep you comfortable, energized, and productive. Or in the case of this guy, just comfortable. Hoffree offers a 6-point vibration massage system, powerful motors targeted your shoulders, lower back, and thighs, with 3 intense levels and a built-in timer. Whether you need gentle relief or deep relaxation, it melts away tension from long hours at your desk. Say goodbye to full body aches and stiffness. This chair has got you covered. It even has smooth recline from 90 degrees to 135 degrees with rock-solid stability, perfect for focused work or a refreshing power nap. Switch between grind mode and chill mode in seconds. And this chair is built to last with high-quality materials and a limit of 400 pounds. No wobbles, no worries, just secure. It's reliable comfort for everyone. And Hoffree makes building this chair very, very easy. It takes half an hour at most. It comes with all the tools and hardware needed, so you have no stress and no worries. Trust me, I've been a YouTuber for 12 years. If I can put this thing together in a half hour, pretty much anyone can. And as you can see, I'm enjoying the chair very, very much. So what are you waiting for? Are you ready to upgrade your chair? I know you're sitting in something that's either half broken or just awful. Trust me, this is a great product. I was very surprised and very pleased with Hoffree sending over this free chair for a review. So what are you waiting for? Throw out that old chair, you know it's awful, and get this new one. Get the Hoffree 6-point massage chair. Head on over to the link in the description or the card up above and use code RETROOFF20 for 20% off your purchase. Again, that's RETROOFF20. Thanks again to Hoffree for sponsoring this video.
So this is the Nintendo Game Boy Micro, released in 2005. This is the last Game Boy in the Game Boy line. And it is very, very interesting unit. It's very small, sleek, easy to put in your pocket, just carry around wherever you go. It's a little on the small side. The top triggers can be a little bit cramped to press, but in general, it's a very good feel. I really like playing on this thing, actually. At first, I didn't really think I liked it too much with the small screen, but it really is a fun unit. It's a great screen, has 4 different levels of brightness, and I actually really liked this unit. Playing it for 30 days definitely changed the way I thought about it. So I got to play a lot of different games that I've never played before. I'm going to show you a lot of the games I'm playing on screen right now, but there were a lot of games that I either kind of played as a teen or didn't get to play at all, And so that was my main challenge, was to play a lot of different games I never played before and just get the full experience of the Game Boy Micro. Now, the Game Boy Micro isn't perfect, but I ended up liking it a lot more than I thought it would. The thing I don't like, I think, the most about it is just how small it is. Something like the original Game Boy Advance. I love the original feel of this Game Boy Advance. One day I'm just going to change the screen into this and have it actually be a backlight like the Game Boy Micro. But that's probably the thing I don't like about it the most. It's just, it is a really cramped feel. Sometimes it's not easy to hit the triggers on top, but in general, it's not really as bad as I initially always thought it was. I always just thought, like, this thing, and like, no reason to have this. And like, yeah, if you're looking for a Game Boy Advance, most people are probably just gonna say buy Game Boy Advance SP, AGS 101 or something like that. I don't like the Game Boy Advance SP. I've never liked the SP. I liked it because I could see the screen, that was about it. But if you're looking for a Game Boy, you're probably just gonna wanna get one of these modded. But if you don't wanna deal with modding, you could get a Game Boy Micro, but then you're also locked to only playing Game Boy Advance games. Some people don't like that. Some people really like Game Boy Color and original Game Boy. I do too. That's completely fine. You can get flashcards to play original Game Boy games and Game Boy Color games. The problem is the screen goes from small to smaller, and you can't change the aspect ratio that I know of. If you can, let me know. But that's really not a viable option. But in general, it's not so bad. I don't think there was a big market for this. I don't really think it was a good idea. It sold decent, as I said, but this isn't like a best-selling unit for sure. But it was an interesting idea, and you know, I see what they were going for, especially being 2005. You know, this is super sleek, feels super premium. Like, it feels like a nice little device, and things during that time were getting really small. Like, we had the iPod Nano and stuff like that, those like really small MP3 players and stuff. So I get what they were going for, but being the last Game Boy, they just kind of threw it out. They were like, you know what, the DS is working, just throw the Game Boy away. Let's just go out with a bang. I don't know if we call this a bang in a good way or a bad way, but the Game Boy Micro over the past 30 days has been very fun. I did enjoy playing a lot of new games I've never played, like Sheep from Konami, and I got to play more Mario Kart Super Circuit. I have a new kind of refound love for that game. I used to absolutely despise that game. This Game Boy Micro made me think different about the game, and I got to play loads of other games I've never played before, some I did play before. It was a really fun time playing the Game Boy Micro for 30 days. Do I think it's great? No. Do I think it's bad? Not really. It's not for everyone, but I think this thing is kind of cool. Thanks for watching. See you next time.